Okay. Something is wrong with this. Okay, so let's start it again. This time I'm going to be coding. There's on the VS Code. I want to currently learn how to, initialize an array, declare an array and initialize it in C++. So
Use
yeah,
braces. So we put this value inside braces. Now look, we have a compilation error because we have a red underline. So our code is not going to get compiled. The brace initializer stops us from making such mistakes. Now there is another benefit to using brace initialization. If we don't supply a value here, our number variable will be initialized to 0. So if we run this program, we see number is 0. However, if we remove the empty initializer here and run our program again, you can see we get this random value, which we say it's garbage. And every time we run our program, we get a different value. So this makes our programs unpredictable. So we should either initialize our variables using the assignment operator to a proper value, or we should use an empty brace initializer. In math and programming, we have different number systems that serve different purposes. In them, now of a hexadecimal number, decimal 0 bit ones. So remember the same number x or positive 0. Now we can separate initially. And the larger memory space filled with. So this is the number I get on your machine. You're probably going to get something different. Exact same based seconds. So if you type 10, that's going to show the I need this with the current time. Now to generate a random. Now we need to wrap the whole thing in parentheses number with 1 or.
so this video does not have how to initialize an array.
In this video, we're going to learn how to declare and initialize arrays of objects in C++. The first thing we'll do is make a simple class for representing squares. And our square objects are going to have two member variables. They'll have a side length, and we'll make that an int value. And they'll have a color, and we'll make that a string. And we'll make a member function for printing out the square data. So we'll output the side length here, and then we'll also output the color as well, followed by an end line. And then we can declare arrays of square objects by saying square squares 3. And what this will do is declare through I is less than 3, I++, and we'll output squares at index I dot print.
Hello everybody and welcome to another C++ tutorial for beginners. They are is that a list is not the same as an array. So if you're coming from another programming language and you've used lists before, really you've used anything that has the .append method on it or .push method or something like that, please make sure you are not mixing up what you know previously from other programming languages with what I'm going to show you right here, which is an array. Now they are very similar, a list and an array, but they also have some very important differences, and I just want to make sure that's very clear. Now, if you've never programmed before, or you've, I guess, never gotten this far in programming before, this is your first series that you're following along with, and you've never heard of an array or a list before, don't worry, I will explain what is and that's what an array does. So
I
programming
don't know what an
languages, it's
array is.
square brackets, and inside of these squiggly brackets, you have a series of elements. Now, an element, we have store how we do all of this, obviously, is we can access each of these overview before we jump in here. I want to array is we need to pick what type the array is going to store. So this is a little bit confusing because an array itself is a data type, like an array is a valid data type, but inside of an array, we have elements, and those elements are a type. So we need to pick what type this array is going to be. In this case, I'm going to say int. So just like you would declare any other variable, you define the type of it. So in this case, I have int, AR, the rest of this. If I change this to char, what I've done is define a char array. This is the most straightforward of my array. So I need to pick in one way or another, I'll show you the other ways we can do this, how large my array is going to be. Is it going to have 10 elements, 5 elements, 4 elements? How many is going to be inside of it? So in this case, I'll just say 5. You need to decide for yourself, and note that once you decide this, you cannot change it later on. It's not a huge deal. There's ways around this that I'll show you in later videos, but I just want to be very clear, you cannot increase or decrease the size of an array. Now, it's also worth noting that if I had, say, some value here, like int x equals 5, I could fully put x inside of here. And that would mean that my array is now going to be... and you'll notice, like, if you kind of experiment with stuff like this, you can do all kinds of things that you might not expect, especially if now we do this, we haven't known yet, that is of size 5. Or what we can do is we can actually pick the elements that we want to go in. We find the elements 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be an error is because we cannot change the size of this array, which we've already done. We've now created an array. So right here, I've kind of gone a little bit overkill. I've said, all right, the size of the array is 5, and then I've defined an array that has 5 elements. But C++ is actually smart enough to know that if you just leave the square brackets like this and you don't actually put a size inside of count elements that I want, apply size 6 sign, then it is required that you add the size of the array. I can declare size x, and I'll show you what happens when we just print out ARR. So cout ARR. Let's go here to the compiler. Let's compile and let's run. And notice we get some random gibberish showing right here. So why is this the case? Well, this array right here, what this really is this is a location in our computer's memory, in our computer's RAM, right? So whenever you run a program like this, like C++ program, your program is loaded into your computer's memory. And when you define an array, what happens is you're saying, okay, I want somewhere in my computer's memory these elements to be stored, or I want to allocate space for this array. So when you just print out ARR like this, what it's actually giving you here is the memory location of this array. Now, this doesn't really have to mean anything to you, but this is kind of where in your computer's memory this array is actually stored. So you can't actually just print out like all of the elements in the array as you might expect, at least not in this way. So if you want to access specific elements from the array, I'm going to show you how we can do that. So obviously it makes sense that 0, which is what position or the index of the element I would element is going to be indexed, which I will show you later on. Coding interview form. With that said, check out AlgoX. Now a little quiz for you. Which element is this going to print out? The last access to do this as well. Position 0 or at index 0, I want to change this as it would make sense that this now is going to be, well, value 10. So that's how you access, and when we say this is of down here, and let's do our kind of end L at the end of all these. Probably should have done that beforehand, but it's okay. So end L, end L. Okay, so what do you think is going to print out? Just give it a guess. You probably will have no idea, but let's compile the program and let's see what we get. Again, notice we didn't give the array its elements already. We just initialized that we have an array of size 5. So compile and run, and notice we get some completely random values printing out here. So this is kind of what happens in C++ when you do not define what is being stored in, let's just call it a container or in a memory location. You're just going to get a bunch of random gibberish. You have no idea what's going to be printing out. There's no way for me to tell you why exactly we got these values. It's just because that actually doesn't exist. So I try to access, say, position 7. Obviously, our array is only size 5, so there is no index 7. When I try to do this, let's see what happens. Let's compile. Let's run. Again, we get some random value. I can't tell you why we're getting that. All I can tell you is that when you try to do this, you get something completely unexpected. How you change the elements inside. Well, ARR is equal to, and then I can set it equal to whatever array that I want. And let's just go index 4. Error assignments. So let's compile. And, oh, what is it saying right here? Error assigning to an array from an initializer list Okay, so it's actually a good error to run into. This is something that I didn't see when I was looking at arrays before doing this video. So apparently you actually cannot do what I just tried to tell you that you could do. What this is saying is that you cannot assign to an array from an initializer list. So this is what you call an initializer list. Don't worry about all the fancy names. And it's saying that since we've already declared this array, we've said that we have this array, I now cannot set the array equal to, and then this kind of array right here. I cannot do that. It's not allowed in C++. So if I did this, right, define the array in this way, and then I want to set all of its elements, the way that I would have to do it is by looking at each of the specific indexes. So if I want to set my array to have, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as its different elements, I would actually have to do the following. I would have to say array 0 is equal to 1, and then array 1 is equal to 6. Now, obviously, let's run and see we do get 1. Then just declare array. Now, I'm going to show you in the next video kind of some tricks to do this a lot faster. Right now, we just don't have all of the tools that we need to really make perfect use of an array. But I wanted to show them to you before, because then when I go into the next videos, you'll see why the things that I'm showing you are like really important, if that makes any sense. But anyways, that's kind of the idea behind 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's also make an array that's like a string array. So let's say string ARR2, and then this can be equal to, or we can do it in this notation. Great. So float ARR3 equals, or we could just do it this way as well. 1.1. Yes, we can define arrays of all different types. You can see examples here that I have. Another programming language, you may think that this is very trivial, very easy to do. In a lot of programming languages, you can use something called .size or .length to actually get the size or the length of the array. The way that you would do this is you would write the name of the array, in this case maybe ARR or ARR2 or ARR3, then you just do .size or .length, or sometimes there's a function, say in Python, you have this function called len that gives you the length of whatever structure you pass to it. Now, in C++, this is not so easy. C++ makes things a little bit more difficult. Now, to get the size of an array is kind of a two-step process. There is this function in C++ called sizeof. Now, notice it's kind of highlighting a fancy color when I write it. Now, what sizeof does is give you the size in bytes of an array. Now, bytes, when I say bytes, this is like how much room on your computer this array is actually taking up. It's not the number of elements in the array. It is quite literally the size of this array in memory, like how many bytes are being used. Now, the only good thing about this, though, is that if we know the size of the array in total, we know the number of bytes that are being used, if we're able to figure out how many bytes are being used for one element in the array, we can actually figure out how many elements are in the array. So typically when you want to get the size or the length of an array, you're asking for the number of elements in the array. That's what you want to know. So in C++, if you want to get this, what you can do is you can say something like cout, and then size of, and then you can say ARR. So this is actually the array, right? The array object. And then you can divide this by the size of one of the elements in the array. So if you know the array has at least one element, you can say, all right, well, the size of array divided by the size of array, and then this is going to be at index 0. So this tells you the size of the very first element, and the size of the first element is how much all of the other elements take up as well. So all of the other elements will have the exact same amount of space or exact same number of bytes that are being used by them. So by simply dividing the size of the entire array by one of the elements, this tells you how many elements are in the array. Now, there's a few other ways to determine the size as well, but they're a little bit beyond the scope of this tutorial right here. I don't want to get into anything too confusing, so I'm not going to cover them. But let's quickly just run this here and see what we get, and we get 4, right? So the reason we get 4 is because the size of this one element is something, the size of this entire array is something. We do the division, and since the size of all of the elements is the exact same, we know we have 4 elements, just some basic math. Now let's just see out actually the size of just the array, so we can kind of see what's happening here. And let's see out the size of the array at index or position 0. So let's go here. Let's compile. Let's run. And oops, I didn't mean to. I didn't want to do them beside each other. Let's do this again. Okay. End L and end L. Okay, let's try this now. Clear, compile, run. We get 16, 4, and then 4. So this is perfect. This is exactly what we wanted. This is telling us that the size of our array is 16. Number of bytes that it's using. The number of bytes that one element is using is 4. And so we have 4 elements in the array. Now let's just see what happens if we add a very large number as the first element in the integer. 4, okay, and then divide 4, create to create and 3 you can leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and so hopefully this one positions in the array, and arrays start indexing at 0. So the very first element is 0, then 1, then 2, then 3. Again, the trick is the number of elements in the array minus 1 is the very last index or position that you can access in the array. So
Okay. So let's start coding. Okay, I'll just skip this and then yeah, just delete. Okay, so let's do it. So the first thing that I'm going to be taking is this 5. That is the number of test cases. So I have to input that first. So I have to first of all declare the variable for it, int t, and just remember, ah, nice. Okay, so we have taken in the number of test cases. So the next thing that comes is n and k. N is the number of integers in the first test case, and k is the number of the size of the subarray, maximum size of the subarray, which can be reversed. So let's take a look at this thing and input that too. Okay, int n, int k. Variable to hold. I'm just gonna just write simply max size of subarray. Yes, this is the size of it. Okay, now I'm going to be inputting these. I think it's gonna be in the next line, right? Should I do it in next line? I am confused because it is not given. Should I do it? Let's just try it this way and then. I mean, it does not really matter if I do it because it's the input. I think it should not matter. So now to the real programming stuff. I'm gonna need to sort the array. First of all, input the array. Yeah, yeah. And just deviation right now. Okay, so yeah, and this is a very. I should not be using it right. I really want to turn off these suggestions. That's suggestions. Touch the $20 for language barriers, discipline intelligence only from UPS different factors. Damn, I'm out of my limit here. Okay. And I is equal to 0. I is less than n. I plus plus. Ah, what's this? Does this? And think about. So we have inputted the array, and now uh, we have to simply sort it, sort the array. I think binary sort would be good. Let me remember binary sort first. Hmm, the structural persist. Search it. Google sort. Sorry, my bad.
हाय एवरीवन एंड वेलकम टू द कंप्लीट डीएसए सीरीज जिसके अंदर आज हम सीखने वाले हैं अबाउट सॉर्टिंग। अब सॉर्टिंग के अंदर आज हम 3 इंपॉर्टेंट सॉर्टिंग टेक्निक्स को कवर करेंगे विच इज गोइंग टू बी बबल सॉर्ट, सिलेक्शन सॉर्ट एंड इंसर्शन सॉर्ट। अब ये सॉर्टिंग इज बेसिकली द प्रोसेस ऑफ अरेंजिंग आवर डेटा इन अ हम प्रोसेस को हम सॉर्टिंग इन n-1 लूप्स के अंदर एग्जैक्टली होने क्या वाला है। तो उसके लिए अपने लूप की फर्स्ट आइटरेशन को स्टडी करते हैं। फर्स्ट आइटरेशन में हम अपने एरे को वैसे ही स्टार्ट करेंगे। अब बबल सॉर्ट कहता है कि आप एडजेसेंट एलिमेंट्स को कंपेयर करते चले जाओ। एडजेसेंट एलिमेंट्स का मतलब होता है पहले इस पेयर को कंपेयर करेंगे, फिर इस पेयर को कंपेयर करेंगे, फिर इस पेयर को कंपेयर करेंगे, फिर इस पेयर को कंपेयर करेंगे। और पेयर में अगर हमें पता चलता है कि फर्स्ट एलिमेंट सेकंड एलिमेंट से बड़ा है तो उस केस में फर्स्ट एलिमेंट
Okay, so I'm thinking that for this case we don't need to sort it, but for this case we do. Like for this case, I can just check that if all the elements are same. I can just put that condition. For this case, like I actually need to sort it. Like if it was, but it is not. These are just the test cases. But I'm not thinking about any other. But it's still in this one. Like nine nine nine. What I need to do is check if it is all the elements same. Like how can I do that? If I do that, then I will have to, see like okay. So now I'm getting a little confused with myself. Okay. So basically, it is going like this. If I just check if all the elements are same, then what is the case if all the elements are not same? Then what do I do? If it is not the case, then I put them in a separate condition. And if they are same, then I put them in a separate condition. For that, there will be two different routes, which could work, which could work, but it will just take more, it will take more work, and I don't want to do more work. So let's find out a way. So let's just bubble sort it.
एलिमेंट को हम पीछे की तरफ पुश करने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो तभी तो हमारा जो डेटा होगा उस लार्जेस्ट एलिमेंट को एरे के लास्ट में पुश कर देते हैं. उसके बाद हमारा सेकंड लूप स्टार्ट होता है, मतलब हमारी सेकंड आइटरेशन. तो सेकंड
This is what he did.
अरेज के बारे में, तो सॉर्टिंग को पता है जो एरे में एलिमेंट्स हैं, सपोज किसी भी रैंडम और सबसे पहले तो हमें एक एरे दे रखा है, ठीक है, जो यहाँ पे हर स्टेप पे हमने सिर्फ एक ही चीज़ करी है, हम मिनिमम एलिमेंट ढूंढते हैं अनसॉर्टेड एरे में और लेकर n-1 तक, और जो दूसरा लूप है वो चलेगा i+1 से लेकर n तक, राइट। तो अब हम यहाँ पे चेक कर रहे होंगे कि इफ़ एरे ऑफ जे मतलब जो हमारा फर्स्ट एलिमेंट है उससे बाद के जो भी सारे एलिमेंट्स हैं वो हम जे से ट्रैवर्स कर रहे हैं, तो इफ़ एरे जे इज़ लेस देन एरे ऑफ आई, तो हम क्या कर देंगे, इन दोनों को स्वैप कर देंगे। अब स्वैप करने के लिए हम सीधा ये नहीं लिख सकते कि एरे जे इज इक्वल टू एरे आई और एरे आई इज इक्वल टू एरे जे, क्योंकि जब हम जे एरे जे में एरे आई की वैल्यू दे देंगे तो एरे जे की वैल्यू तो गायब हो गई ना। तो हम इसके लिए एक वेरिएबल बनाएंगे टेम्प, जिसमें हम एरे जे की पहले वैल्यू स्टोर कर लेंगे और फिर एरे जे में डाल देंगे एरे आई की वैल्यू, एंड लास्ट में एरे आई में डाल देंगे हम टेम्प, राइट। तो इससे हमारा जो है सॉर्ट हो जाएगा और हम अपनी एरे को एक बारी प्रिंट करके देख लेते हैं। राइट, एंड अगर मैं यहाँ पे डालती हूँ कोई भी रैंडम 5 एलिमेंट्स, ठीक है, तो ये हमारे पास आ गया अनसॉर्टेड।
Now this. Oh, I cannot initialize this once again. So I'll just use J and K. J and K. There. You have to do it in increasing order, right? So search Gemini. Copy and array one array and C plus plus What sense? Hmm. Just change it. You're like I need to visualize it. To maybe this is on my copy diary. So I will just copy ARR to I was equal to ARRM. Okay, so in this one I can do just this. ARR2 J is less than ARR. ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ So the bigger one will go in front. So this way we have just sorted the array. The array number 2 has been sorted, and now it's time to okay. So now we can, I think, apply the if condition or the yes or no. If and I really don't like it. I really need it. Okay, so let me just open that notepad. Okay, the first one was k needs to be greater than 1. And if that's not the case, uh, the copy, the ARR2 needs to be equal to ARR. So if ARR2 we can just compare it. Let me just pass that in Gemini. So I can just simply put that I'm going to try the simple one. If it does not work, then let's complicate it. But if it works, then also it will. Okay. So I think I need to put them again in another set of because k is greater than 1. See out. Okay. So I think this file is complete. This program is complete. Now time to submit it. How do I submit it? I think this one should be it. The score shape does source file, right? The hell? Oh, I think it just did not save it. Let me just see it. VS Code, C++ tutorial. Damn. Did it not auto-save it? Because that would be really, really, really shitty if it did not. God damn it. This can't be happening, man. Oh man, all of it gone to waste. I'm not gonna hit to fucking shit, man. I thought it had autosave, man. Yeah, this is really. Why is it off by default, man? Oh, I should not have closed it. Oh, enter it. Okay, so int t and then Saint. I'm going to be using it a lot this time. I've rewritten all the code and this. Okay, now int n int k. Okay, now cn n k. Okay, yeah, do that. Yes, yes, yes. That's right. That's right. Now I'm going to need to copy this array for Okay, so I think now I've copied it. Now to sort it. For and not less than k, not less than k. This needs to be less than n minus 1. Plus plus, and then for zero, it is going to be j plus 1. Now, yes, a to j is greater than a to k is also coming after it, so it will just exchange their positions. Okay, so now to the if conditions. If a2 is equal to a, uh, k is greater than 1, I need to figure it out. And why can't it be n? What is wrong with n? Explain it. Where an expression must have a constant value happens because C++ does not allow variable length arrays. The array size must be a compile time constant. Cannot. This they need to be user input size and enter array size. Use this, right? Vector. Oh yeah, I think I have to include vector. Where's has to? Oh yeah, I forgot to do this. Let's just give you a runtime size vector, not an array of vectors. Oh, nope. The problem persists. Isn't it the exact same as this? Okay, so I can use that to copy. Sort it. Sort E2 back again. And I'm guessing we need to add this hashtag into an algorithm. Now what is the issue, man? Come on. So I have to use standard where I'm guessing. Has he done that too? No, he very much has not. Let me see that. Okay, if I just apply the fix, Got it. Taking so much time. Ah, accepted. Nice. It still can't run it. Or maybe it has. Let's just do this one. Where was it? 3, 2. Hmm, no. Hey, nice. And then 2, 1, 3, 1. 2, 1, 3, 1. No. Let's do the 9, 9, 9, 1. 3, 1, 9, 9, 9. 3, 1, 9, 9, 9. Yes. Okay, so it's clearly working. Let's just understand it. Okay, so I took the characters. I forgot this very crucial part. This very simple, but I forgot it. I need to tell the program how long does it need to run. This program that I've written, it clearly needs to run 5 times. So t minus minus del it's 0. Okay, so we have taken two characters and we have input them, and then we have taken an array vector in this case because it was not working for some reason. I'm going to try to make it work next time, and then basically just sort it and then check for it. Okay, I'm gonna need to sort this out. VS Code 2. It has some problem. I don't know what. It does not run for some reason correctly. Okay, so I'm going to end the stream. This is it.